In this final video we're going to take a look at printing. We need to be able to print out the receipt when a transaction has been complete. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're just going to go into view code and we're going to go and find out our event. So if you scroll down, if you remember at this point here, we open the payment and we attach event and we see whether the payment was a success. That takes us down to this event handler here, and you can see that if the payment was true, we obviously save the transaction first of all, and once we've saved the transaction, the next thing we need to do is to print the transaction. So we would need to call something that's going to do the printing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make another private method, and this is going to be one that will start the printing process. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call it print receipt. It's not going to take any parameters. And we're going to make use of a couple of inbuilt features. So the first one is print dialog. Print dialog is the box that pops up and lets you choose your printer. So I'm just going to call that print dialog, and we need to make a new version of that. So new print dialog. So that's going to allow us to get the user's response about what they would like to print. Then we need to make something called a print document. So that's the next job, print document. And I'm just going to call that print document equals new print document. So that's that bit done. Again, at this point you might notice it's got the red underlines. We just need to resolve that, and that's going to be using the systems.drawing.printing. So that's useful for us. We've got a print document that we can start building, and the next thing to do is attach that to the print dialog. So I need to say print dialog dot and we need to attach it to the document property, sorry, equals print document. So let's just find that. There we go. So print dialog.document is equal to the print document. So that's that pretty much set up. I now need to attach an event that tells me when they've printed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to attach that to print document, and we should have a print page event. And again, to attach event handler plus equals, and I'm just going to use double tab to automatically generate that for me. So we can see there we've got a new print page event handler. So that's that job done. Finally, we need to actually show the printing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new dialog result, same as we used when we did the opening of a file. So I need to save the result so I can see what they've chosen, and I'm going to say equals print, and we're going to get it from the dialog, and I want to show the dialog. So what this is going to do, it's going to return and store in the result what the user has chosen. So what I want to say is if the result is equal to dialog results dot what do we want to do? We want to check for OK, don't we? If it is OK and they have pressed print, we then of course want to start. Okay, so we've checked to see if they've pressed OK. So the next thing is of course to just print the document. So again, to generate that event, what I do is I use print document dot, and I use its print method here, and that's going to basically start the process rolling, and as soon as it's ready we'll call my print page event handler. The next thing to do is actually to manage the print. So we'll go to the method that we generated, and you can see it was generated automatically for us. And basically printing is the same way as working with graphics. We just draw. So let's start off by creating a graphics object. So graphics, I'm just going to call my graphic equals, and I'm going to get this from the event. I'm going to get the graphics object from that, so I've got something to begin drawing with. Now I want to then begin to put something as a heading. So again, just like I do with drawing, you can use and create font. So I'm going to say font, I'm just going to call it font, not very original, but equals new font, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to use the font Courier New. So let's put that in, Courier New, and I want that to be a size 12. So that's a font. Again, just let that resolve, that's fine. The reason I've chosen Courier is because I want it to be monospaced, so that way it'll nicely align when I do my printing. I'm going to get the height of the font so that I can work out what line spacing to use. So float for that, I'll call that font height equals, and I'm going to just get the font height by going font.height. So again, oh no, I need get height. Let's use the correct one. So that will get me the height of the font, so again nice and straightforward. And then I'm going to position, I'm going to sort of set myself some starting position. So I'm going to have my starting X position is going to be at position 10. I'm going to have my start Y position at, let's do a 10 as well. And I'm going to put some offsets in, and I'll talk about those later, but I just need an offset, and I'm going to make that around about 40 for the moment. So that's basically set up. So the first thing is I'm going to draw something straight to my graphics. So graphic, and I want to do a draw string, and I want to draw my welcome to the coffee shop message. So we just put that in at the top, nice and straightforward. Next it asks for the font I want to use. I'm going to just show you a shorthand way, and you can just create a font directly in that. So slightly different to how I've done it at the top there, but Courier New, and I'll have that as this time as let's make it a bit bigger, size 18. I also needed brush, so I'll make a new solid brush. That just means it's filled. So new solid brush, and I want that to be black, so color dot, and we'll have that as black. Okay. I also then need to specify where I want that to start, so I'm going to say put that at my starting X position and my start Y position. Check my brackets all tie up and go back down to the new line. I'm just going to move this out of the way so you can see all of that. So let's just get rid of my properties there so you can just see the whole line there. So that's drawing the string for the basic welcome message. Next thing I want to do is actually iterate through the list of products. Now remember, we're in the class here where we've got the list of products, so you can see there we've got my binding list. So what I'm going to do is iterate through that list, and each time I come across an item I'm simply going to print that out. So a for each loop is a nice way of iterating through all of my items in there. So I'm going to say for each table product, and that's going to be product in my products list. Now what I'm going to do there is simply create the position and draw the piece of the string. So I need to do a bit of processing here because there's different parts. So I'm going to have something called, oops, get rid of that, sorry. I'm going to have a new string, and I'm going to call that product description. And I'm going to make that equal to the current product that I'm looking at in my for each loop. And I'm going to get the description from that, and I'm going to put some padding on that. So I'm going to use the pad, let's use pad right here, and I'm going to pad that by around about 30 spaces, and that's just going to make sure that my description has got white space after it so that the price will then line up next to it. Then I'm going to have, I'll need something to hold the total, so let's just say product total, and I'll need to have a string. I'll need to format that string, and I'll want that to be a one argument. It's going to be currency, and I am going to want that to take in the product dot price. Again, nice and straightforward there. So pop that in, finish that off. So there we've got the price nicely formatted. Next job for me, I'll need something to probably hold, well, I'll combine the two together next so it's easier to read. So I'm just going to make it string. I'll call that lowercase that string. Cool, I can't type today. Product type, or no, let's call it product line. So it just displays both things together, and that's just going to be the product description, and I'm going to append that to the product total. So that means I've just got a line, just makes it a bit easier. And then really all I need to know now is draw it, and I'll do it the same way as before. So graphic dot draw string, and this time I want to draw the string which is my product line. So product line, let's just find that, there it is. And in the same way as before, I'll just pass in my original font that I've got just up at the top there. I'll probably go for a normal solid colour brush again. I should have probably declared this at the top, but we'll put it back anyway. So colour dot black. I could change the colour here if I wanted to. I will need to have its starting position. Whoops. Let's put this back down here. So we need its starting X, and I'm going to need its starting Y. Now, The Y position, what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to offset it so it doesn't just overlap the previous piece of text, the title. So I'm going to add that to the offset, and that will just mean that each piece of text is going to be a little bit further down. So that's nice and straightforward. Next job for me, once I've got that done, is basically just to recalculate the next offset so that it can add it on. So offset equals offset, and I'm just going to add on to that the font height. So I'm just going to cast it to an int because at the minute it's a decimal. So take the font height, and I'm just going to add 5, and I found that works quite nicely for spacing out the items in there. Now I've got an error here, it's because I've got a capital letter. Just change that to start Y, that's better. Okay, so once we've drawn all the items, the only thing left to do is just to have a message to say thank you. So I'm just going to add a little bit more onto my offset, so just so I can move it down just a tiny bit more as well, a bit more than even previously. And all I'm going to do with that is just draw another string that says, you know, the actual total of the transaction. So graphic dot draw string, and here I'm going to just say total to pay, and I'm going to display the total to pay. So what I want to do is I'm going to take that string, I'm going to have to pad that in the same way as before. So I'm going to pad it right by 30 so it nicely lines up. So I'll have total to pay, then some white space, and then I'm going to add on to that string.format, and I'm going to get the total amount to pay, and it's in this class as well, so I can just access that straight off. So I'm going to have no one argument there, and to currency, and it's going to take in no, it should be transaction total, shouldn't it? Yeah, it is. So take the transaction total into that, format it up, close that off, and finish that string of there. I need to tell it to what font to use, so I'm just going to use the font I declared, and you can see exactly why it would have been a good idea to have created this solid brush at the top, because I've had to make 3 new instances of that, which is quite bad practice really. So whoops, again just colour.black, and might want to do a different colour as I said before, but I'm just going to keep this nice and simple. And of course I need to say where it's going to start, so I will go for my starting X position, and I will go for my starting Y position, and add that to my offset again, which I've of course adjusted every time I've added a product. So that looks nice and neat and finished. So to recap, I know there's a lot there, but basically all we've done is we've created a graphic object, created a font, and then drawn a string that says the welcome message, chosen a font, and then every product that's in my product list I've drawn a new string and given it a starting X and starting Y position. The offset, remember, just spaces each item out, and the different ways of doing that, but that just seemed to be a simple system. If we just take a look now at the finished printing, what I'll do is I'll open my till, I'll choose a couple of items. Okay, and I'm going to go pay, choose my amount to pay, so we'll probably need a bit more than that, that'll be fine. Okay, and then you'll get the print dialog, which is fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to send it to OneNote so that you can see the outcome. I'll just send it to the printer, and hopefully OneNote will just fire up for me. Ask me where I want to put it. I'm just going to put it in my C# programming area. Let's just move that out of the way so I can see. Okay, and there you go, and that's the printed receipt. I'll just move that up so you can see it there. That should be all on there. So you can see that there's my message, and there's the nicely spaced out, and that's why I use the padding here, and you can see the different font size just at the top. So that concludes the video on printing.